Okay, good morning. Hello. Welcome along. Thank you very much for waiting. Appreciate your patience. So, this is the IMRG stand. We are the UK's e-commerce association, and we exist to give retailers benchmarking data. So, the way it works is we have a big panel of retailers who every single week they give us their website sales figures. They will tell us how much money they've made, how many orders they had, the traffic that came to their website. They actually give it to us in a file every single week. What we then do is add it all up to say collectively how this group have performed. Off the back of that, we then produce market reports to say here's how the industry is doing. And throughout the year, we run studies with that group of retailers whereby we send them a survey to say, can you fill this in, please? Tell us some very granular details about a specific part of your website. We collate all of that information, compile it together into some slides, and this is what you're left with. So one of those studies that we've done is on the product page. So what you're about to see are the results from those sorts of retailers telling us specific detail around their product page performance and their homepage performance. Feel free to take photographs. All this data is available to share, so hopefully there'll be some good stuff to actually show you. So, the first thing that we asked them as part of this study was, out of all the traffic that comes to your website, how much starts on the homepage, how much starts on the product listing page, and how much starts on the product page itself? Take a guess. What do you think it might be? Which one of these three gets the most traffic landing onto it as the starter for 10? It's actually the product listing page is the most popular page. So homepage is the least out of the three. The rest will be things like some random blog page or perhaps store opening times, but those are the three and what they work out to be. Now the thing is, it's not always been like that. If you actually plot it over time, so this chart is going to show you the average retailer, what percentage of all their traffic starts on the homepage, and in green, what starts on the product page. And it starts all the way back at Q1 2020, so the good old days before the pandemic had turned up. This is what it actually looked like. So it used to be that the homepage was the most dedicated and popular place for traffic to start. But over time, poor old homepage has fallen away, and the product page has become the place now where traffic is starting their journeys. And actually, poor old homepage is about right. This is the industry average homepage bounce rate over time, and it is unfortunately going up and up and up, to the point now where nearly 1 in every 5 sessions that lands on a homepage will bounce and disappear. That's not good news for the poor old homepage. So, let's go back to our three options of our homepage, our product page, and our product listing page. What about the conversion that you are getting from the traffic that starts in those places? So of all the traffic that starts on the homepage, that will then go through a journey. They'll go onto the product page, they'll put something in their basket, they'll go to the checkout and buy it. What sort of conversion does that traffic that started on the homepage get? And the same story for the product listing page, and the same story for the traffic that actually starts on the product page. Now this is quite interesting. It turns out the homepage is not dead, ladies and gentlemen. It actually gets quite a good conversion rate out of all the traffic that starts it. Poor old product page thought he was doing well, but just 2.3% is the industry average conversion rate for traffic starting on a product page. And I thought this is worth double checking. So this is all the data that we threw on a chart. This is 35 retailers that we randomly pulled from the sample. And just to prove the point, out of those random 35 that we pulled out, 32 of them said yes, the homepage is the best converting place for traffic to start on our website. So you might think it's dead, ladies and gentlemen, but please do spend some time on that homepage because it actually gets quite good conversion. So let's go back to that, the idea of the product page. Of all the traffic that ends up looking at a product page, regardless of whether it has started on that product page or not, it could have started on the product listing page, or it could have started on the home page, or anywhere else. Of all the traffic that comes onto the site, what you really want it to do is press that magic button that says, add it to my basket, put that item into my trolley. The industry average percentage of all of the traffic that looks at a product page and actually hits that add to bag button is just 14%. So think of all that other traffic that's looking at the product pages and doesn't press the button. How disappointing. So optimizing your product page is key. And indeed, 14% is the average, but what we thought would be useful to show you is what the percentiles look like, so you can actually grade yourself as to whether you are kind of in the 25th bottom quarter or whether you're up at the 75th. That 14% is the average, but if you're somewhere 7 or below, you are unfortunately in the bottom quarter. But if you manage to get an add to bag rate that's 17% or more, you can consider yourself in the top quarter of the whole industry. Now, going back to that product page, have you ever wondered how many product pages somebody actually looks at during a session? So they might flip between loads of pages, these pair of boots, that pair of boots, this pair of jeans, that jacket. In one session, what do you reckon the average number of product pages that somebody actually looks at is? Any guesses? It's not a lot. It is just 2.8 pages is your average. So you've got about 3 times, roughly 3 product pages to capture that person and get them to actually add that item to their basket. But when you've got them on that page, how long do you think they're actually looking at it for? Any guesses what you reckon the industry average amount of time someone spends is? It is 67 seconds is the average amount of time someone is looking at a product page. 67 seconds, a little over a minute. So they're scrolling up, scrolling down, cycling through all the photographs, perhaps checking some delivery information. Now, the actual length of time someone spends on a website on average is more than that. It's 215 seconds. So getting close to 4 minutes or so. Unfortunately, that is going down. This chart shows you the average length of time that people are spending on retailers' websites since the beginning of the pandemic. And look at the trend line. It is going down and down and down. You have less and less time to capture that person and get them to actually add something to their basket. Now, a little bit of shaky maths coming up. So we're using a lot of averages here, so bear that in mind, but the conclusion is quite interesting. So we know that the average person is looking at about 2.8 pages per session, and we know that they are spending about 67 seconds per product page. So what that means, you've got about 188 seconds that people are, during their session, looking at a product page. I just told you that the average session is 215 seconds. So take that 188 away from your 215, and that leaves you with under half a minute of how long the typical person is looking around the rest of your website, looking at the search, looking at the homepage, looking at your blog. Half a minute, less than, in terms of how long someone is actually looking around the rest of your website. Now, coming up in a second, I've got some information for you to show you actually what you can do to improve your add to bag rate, what sort of tips and tricks people are doing to get the best. But first, we have a very special guest, someone who actually has a product that works really, really well on the product page. This is Rosie. Please welcome along. Round of applause for Rosie if we can, please.
Thank you.
There you go. It's all yours.
Thanks. Down to go forward. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you very much for dropping in on the IM&G stand. I'm Rosie. I'm the CEO at Nibble. And Nibble is a chatbot that sits on your product detail page and talks to a customer that is undecided about a purchase and maybe offers them a special deal if that's what will get them over the line. And so as a result, is it on my slides next?
Sorry. 2 seconds. Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's go.
Let's get them up.
There's always an inevitable technical hitch, isn't there? Thank you very much. I don't want to spill the beans on the rest of your talk. Here we go. Should we just run it from there? There we go. That's all right. So here we go. Nibble's PDP best practices. So we'll make a start. So when your customer comes to your product detail page, unfortunately, they're thinking, I wonder if I can get a deal on this. I wonder if I can get a discount. And these are the discounts that are in their head going, I hope that I can get nearly 30% off if you're in consumer electronics. And so, of course, does this feel a little bit like a race to the bottom from your point of view? You know that you need to discount sometimes to capture these customers, but you want your product detail page to look nice and clean, right? You don't want to be too many discounts. You don't want to destroy your brand with too many strike-throughs. So this is where you can put Nibble on the page after a dwell time. And this is where it fits with what Matthew was saying, is because you can make that dwell time after 1 minute, because we know that that's the average stage on a product detail page. So if they haven't added to basket at that stage, that's the stage when they can click the button and chat to Nibble. Or if they've come to that product detail page twice in a particular section, that's when they can click the button and talk to Nibble, because they visited the page twice, but they haven't yet added to basket. And from that point of view, the next thing that we do is we have a little conversation. And the thing that really works brilliantly for our brands is putting your brand values into that chat. Telling the customer, why did they come to your product detail page in the first place? Why did they come to you and not to Amazon? It's probably because they identify with your brand values that you put out that really matter to them. So this is where inside the chat you move that conversation from a conversation about that discount that was in their head when they came here, that 30% off, to the value of your product and why they love it and why it might matter to them to buy it today. So what that does is that moves the conversation. And the really important thing here about the power of having a conversation, the power of using your brand values, and the power of really engaging with your customer while they're focused on your product page, while they're spending that minute reading the rich content and learning about that product that they're thinking about buying. And that difference, if you like, the green dot says, where did they agree to buy it? Yes, they got a discount, but it was much, much smaller than what was in their head at the beginning of the journey. And that is the power of having the negotiation on that. Oh, wow, this has gone very wrong. I will talk about this, but not have this on the slide. The add to basket rate, when you put those brand values on, increases by up to 150% when you talk about your sustainability credentials, or when you talk about your design credentials. We had one company that said, don't forget, this was designed with pro athletes in mind, and that increased add to basket rate more than 140%. We had another customer who said, this is fair trade coffee, which means I pay my farmers a fair wage. I can't afford that kind of discount. And the customer moved from wanting 50% off to wanting 10% off. So this is about how you protect your margin when you know you need to give them a little nudge, but you don't need to take them to those deep discounts, those Black Friday terrors that keep us awake at night. So who's using it today? We do 20,000 conversations a month, and our average discount is less than 8%. For most of our customers, we halve their discounting. And so for tents, just to give you a very specific example, this client, they did a lot of analysis on their product detail page, and they found out that somebody buying a tent visits this website 4 to 6 times before they make a purchase, because it's a very considered purchase, and there's a lot of thinking and comparison and discovery that you do. But if that person hasn't bought the tent on the 4th purchase, there's a really big risk that they are going to make that purchase, but they're going to take it somewhere else. So it's only on the 4th purchase that we bring Nibble in from the side and says, I can see you like this item. Is there a deal? Is there a deal that we can talk about that works for you? And that has proved to be very high conversion for them, but it hasn't got in the way of full price sales, which are made on visits 1 to 3. And so from their point of view, it's very margin protecting, but it does boost your conversion. Another example is on this houseplant website, where it's a very, very rich website. There's a lot of information. There's a lot you need to understand about how to care for this houseplant and how to work out whether it suits you. And from that point of view, they used to have Nibble on a 2-minute dwell time. And it was funny because when I told Matt about this, he was like, that'll never work. No one spends more than 67 seconds on a product detail page. And that was right. And they switched the dwell time with Nibble from 2 minutes to 1 minute, and they saw a massive uptick in the conversion, but still preserving the full price sales when Nibble was not showing. So this is Nibble coming in from the side after 1 minute. This one I wanted to show you, this is in secondhand. I don't know if anyone here is in resale, but resale is a really important market for us. And here the margins to play with on a secondhand phone are very, very slim. And our client said, I'm not sure if I can use Nibble. I don't have much discount I can give. And actually we said, don't worry about that. Just be honest with your customers. They've probably done a lot of research. They've probably done a lot of price checking. They actually know that for a second-hand, high-quality mobile phone with a 2-year warranty, there's not much variance in price. So if they start pushing for a much bigger deal, be honest. And in here, in the chat, and I'm sorry if it's a bit small, it says, I don't have much margin to play with. This is the best I can do. And we've seen massive uptick in conversion by just using that honesty with your customer base. And the last one here, another resale example in apparel, lovely brand called EcoSki, who care as much about the mountains as they do about making a profit. And so they have a big reselling opportunity. I don't know about you, does anyone have kids? Does anyone take kids skiing? It's expensive, and the kit is still in really good condition the next year. So this is a way of powering the circular economy. And here we can use it to justify our pricing, but also to remind customers, please consider supporting EcoSki helps support a team that are passionate about protecting the mountains. And this is causing a much stronger engagement and ultimately conversion at better margins. And so these are ways that you can get your product messaging right there onto the product detail page, using the statistics that Matt was talking about using that dwell time to your advantage, using those revisits to the advantage, but making sure it's right for your product set and your customer base. So that's all I wanted to talk about. If you want to talk about how it might work for you, we have clients selling anything from business to business building materials through to karaoke sets. It works in a wide range of discretionary purchases, and I'm happy to have a chat about it. Many thanks. Thank you very much for your time.
Cool. So, Rosie, what's going to happen for Black Friday in negotiating with discounts then?
So Black Friday, to be honest, we're not big fans of Black Friday. We're unashamedly anti-discounting. It's about the minimum price that will make it work. So if you're sitting there thinking, I hate Black Friday, but I do get better traffic, but I don't want to do an ASOS and take 70% off all my prices. That's where these sort of tactics, I think, are going to work for you. I know we've been talking to a couple of eco-centric brands who just think Black Friday has gone too far and they can't actually marry it with their sustainability credentials. But they do know it's a big time for shopping, for gifts, for Christmas, and it's a way of sort of bridging that gap. So that's what I think you should do for Black Friday.
Love it. Thank you very much, Rosie. Thank you.
Matt. Thanks. Thank you very much.
So, last part. We're going to talk about marketing channels. This was one of the questions that we had in our survey that we sent out to retailers. Now, before I start talking about marketing channel attribution, I'm going to have to bring up the idea of Google Analytics 4, as I see lots of faces go, oh. So, when we collected this data, we had to ask for it in one of two ways. Either the good old-fashioned last-click attribution that everyone was used to when we all used Universal Analytics, or if you are one of the people that has now got Google Analytics 4 live, you are stuck with their data-driven attribution methodology that does all sorts of clever trickery to work out which marketing channel gets the money. So, we asked retailers to tell us, out of all the traffic that comes to your website, either the product page that lands directly onto the product page, or what generally comes in any traffic anywhere, which marketing channel does it come from? Based on last click down the bottom, you can see all of those channels. This is what the average product page traffic source looks like. A huge chunk goes to paid advertising. That is Google Shopping, basically, all the ads at the top as well, sending you straight through to that product page. If you include the whole website, this is what it typically looks like. So the product page itself is a slightly more inflated version. It's that focus where all the traffic is being directed through the paid ads, which makes sense. If you want to see what that looks like in the new world of data-driven attribution, good old Google Analytics 4, where they split it out across loads of different marketing channels, this is what it looks like. Cross-network, by the way, that one at the front, that is Google Shopping, pretty much. And there's a bit of play around whether you think some of that is to do with paid or not, but we'll play with it. And just so you can compare the two, the old at the bottom and the new at the top, for anybody that is working in marketing, that slide is definitely worth taking a quick photograph of. So, on to the last stretch now, the final bit around the features and functionalities that you can put on your website that will actually help you get a better conversion. So think about all of the product pages that are on your site, the different varieties across the internet, all the stuff that you can put on a product page, all the unlimited amounts of features and functionalities. Which one do you actually put on there to help get conversion? So, what we went and did was we listed 12 different features and functionalities that you can put on your product page. And those 12 are, we'll very quickly run through them now. Each one of these, the idea behind it is that it was something that will help that person add the item to their bag. It's to help that product page conversion is the idea of each of these little features and functionalities. So the first is customer reviews. Somewhere on that page, do you have a customer reviews mechanism? Next, in the customer reviews, do you allow photographs? That's quite an important thing, you know, where the person takes the really bad quality photo in low light of the item that they've just seen. Next up is the idea of buy now, pay later. Do you have buy now, pay later on your product page? Very important, especially in cost of living times. You've got to have some kind of finance deal. Next up is delivery information. Do you actually show the delivery information on the product page? But not just the delivery information. Do you say how much it costs and is it free? Can you give people free delivery? Next up is the idea of a wish list. That was something that can help people put loads of items into their basket, then they come back and go bang, 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 and they add it all in there. After that is, can you add to the basket from the PLP? Always quite good. Doesn't get used very much, but it's always worth having. Next up is the returns information. Do you say the information about the returns? I'm running out of breath here, but we'll keep going. Free returns is the next thing. Do you give people free returns? And then what about an in-stock indicator? That one's a rare one. Do you actually say whether it's in stock or not, or how many you have left? Then we have a Q&A. These are rare Q&As. Not many people have a Q&A session where someone can say, oh, how big is it? Will it fit here? Will it do that? Always worthwhile putting that on there. And then lastly, urgency messaging. That stuff that says 12 have been bought in the last 6 minutes. Oh my word, we're running out of stock. You've got to buy it now. So, 12 things. 12 things. What we've done is we pulled out at random 32 retailers from our sample. And we have lined them up in terms of their add to bag rate. So on the left-hand side is those with the very highest add to bag rate. And that number you see is their actual add to bag rate. So the very, very best are getting 20% or more, whereas the very worst are kind of 5% or less. Now what we're going to do is show you which features and functionalities each of these retailers has on their website. And we're going to fill it in with a colored dot. So if you work on a column by column basis, if there is a colored dot below that retailer, they have that feature and functionality on their website. Now here's the fun bit. If you split that page into 4, so we've got a bottom, a lower middle, an upper middle, and a top, and if you add up all of the features and functionalities that each quarter has, wouldn't you know, the top half have more of those features and functionalities than the bottom half. These guys, what are they doing? Just put it on your website, get those features and functionalities. Each one will slowly add a little bit of better conversion to your product page. So, I think that's the end. Hopefully that was useful, but don't go anywhere. If you like this sort of stuff, if you find benchmarking useful, if you want to get access to the weekly data of how the industry is doing, compare your growth, compare your conversion rates, you can become a member with IMRG. If you would like to do that, speak to handsome Jack at the back there, tall guy standing up. He is our guy that you would need to speak to. And if you actually want to get a free trial of IMRG, you can do it. Scan that QR code and you will get 1 month for free on our dashboard, no strings attached. You can get live benchmarking every single week of how the industry is doing. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching.